Hi, this is Mariah Gullo from The Hollywood Reporter, and this is Meet Your Oscar Nominees. And I'm here with Virgil Williams.
Hi. Hey.
How are you?
I'm great. I am great.
Congratulations on being nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
How does it feel to stand shoulder to shoulder with Dee Rees, Rachel Morrison, and Mary J. Blige?
You know, humbling to be surrounded by that kind of, I don't know, that kind of juice is just, this whole experience has been humbling.
Yeah.
You know, I can't, and magical. It's because, I mean, to get a movie made is a daisy chain of miracles. So to get it made and then to end up here is like, you know, it's a big fat miracle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's out of body.
Yeah. You've said before that this screenplay was really personal for you.
Intensely so.
Explain how that...
Well, you know, my grandfather fought in a segregated unit in World War II. He was in the 92nd Infantry. He was a Buffalo soldier. And his brother, however, fought in a white unit because he could pass. And my grandfather didn't claim Negro out of some sense of like racial pride. He claimed Negro because he thought they would not send black boys into combat. He was wrong about that.
Yeah.
So the relationship between Jamie and Ronsel was intensely personal to me. It's like, you know, those two guys were me. Mudbound was me. Mudbound is really kind of all of us.
Yeah.
You know, there's an access point for everyone in that film. We all have an inheritance from the history that we cover in that story. So, you know, that's part of the magic of it. It's not just personal to me, but there's I think it's personal to a lot of people.
Are there certain scenes that really stand out to you when you were able to kind of see your writing come to life?
Yeah, there's a couple in particular. The first time that I ever saw the movie was at Sundance. I hadn't seen it cut until Sundance, so it was that was a very powerful experience. And my wife wanted a weekend away from the kids.
Yeah.
But when I did the math, my 10-year-old daughter, for 70% of her life, I had been working on and or dreaming about that movie. And they don't do what you say, they do what you do. So I knew that little girl and her little sister needed to see with their own eyes what sort of hard work and tenacity and faith sort of manifest. So we brought them. And so my oldest daughter came to the screening. And so there was a scene, two scenes stick out. There's a scene when Ronsel and Jamie are in the barn, and it's a scene that's not in the book. And Ronsel asks Jamie, "Why are you being so friendly?" And Jamie says, "Because you look like you could use it." And Ronsel's answer to that is, "Bullshit." Sorry, I don't know if I can say
That's
that.
Fine.
And then Jamie tells the story of what happened to him when he was at war. And spoiler alert, he was his plane was going down. He was as good as dead, and he made a deal with God. If you save me, I'll do something good. I don't know what that is, but if you save me, I'm going to do something good. And then the Tuskegee Airmen show up, and they save him. And in the book, there's not an answer to that question, but as a sort of as a screenwriter, I wanted an answer to that question. I wanted a cinematic answer to that question, and the way that Dee shot that scene was so beautiful. She sort of stripped the sound out. So it's Jamie's voiceover that takes us through the whole scene, and it's very naked, which makes it very, very intimate. You don't hear any of the rat-a-tat-tat of the guns. You don't hear the engines whirring or droning. It's just Jamie's voice, and that scene, I got goosebumps. You know, I get those when anytime there's something honest, if it's in a song or a painting or a scene, and it just that scene blew me away. And the ending. Another piece that's not in the book. The book ends differently. The book, you know, spoiler alert, Hillary Jordan, the author of the novel, just sort of alludes to the possibility of what could potentially happen to Ronsel. And it leaves you in a state of thinking, which I think is great for a novel. And films can do the same thing, but I'm sort of more of a purist. I'm a classic moviegoer. I want an ending that sort of sweeps you away. It makes you go like that, a sort of a burst of emotion and some closure to sort of all the stuff that we've put you through. So, you know, and plus, you know, I'm half black, half Puerto Rican. I'm a black father, and there are too many fatherless black kids in the world. And in my opinion, Ronsel could not occupy the space of hero unless he went to go get his son. And his son is the very reason for which he got lynched. So it didn't make any sense to me that he would not cross the ocean again, this time for love, not for war. So those two scenes really they blew me away because they worked, and again, I hadn't seen the movie yet, so it was just like movie magic.
Yeah, and those are, I mean, that is a wonderful ending to put in.
After everything that we put them through, with intent, I wanted the last word of dialogue to be love.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is. I mean, Mudbound shows us that it doesn't matter what color, what creed, or gender we are. We're all stuck here together on Earth, mudbound, and that mud is fear, it's ignorance, and it's hate, and the only way to get clean is together and with love.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I took from that story, and I think that's why people connect to it.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of young writers know what it takes to get to this level? I mean, you were writing this in, like you said, for many years,
Yeah,
but also
yeah.
on top of your day job and
Yeah.
beyond, into the night.
Yeah, I don't know. I think especially in the television world, because there's such a proliferation of content, there's a need to fill a pipeline. Mm-hmm. So I think that nowadays, you're getting young writers getting their own shows, for instance. And I think that there's many, many positives to that, because what you get is these beautiful young voices that get to emerge and sort of touch the world in a way that it hasn't been touched yet. And on the flip side of it, you've got, I think, young writers are skipping a whole section of learning. They're skipping a whole section of sort of come up. And to me, look, I'm a sort of a student and a lover of the game. Everything always goes back to the page for me. I'm pure. I chase the cursor. I'm a writer. Mm-hmm. I don't. I have. Maybe I'll direct someday, but I'm at my core a writer, and it, for me, it always comes back to that. So, I don't know. I think that, that there's great opportunities for young writers, and I think that some of them are skipping steps that would only help them in their craft. But I think they're learning on the job.
What do you think it was about Mary J. Blige's performance that earned her that Oscar nomination?
In a word, stillness. I think that they're really, really great performances tend to there's not a lot of physicality going on, externalized physicality going on, but there's a ton going on in the eyes. It's like, still waters run very deep, and I think the great actors that can somehow magically take that and the good directors are able to locate that and sort of put it on screen somehow. It's sort of that movie magic. There's some writers who write and you read their words and their words literally sort of pop off the page. Still the same words as everybody else uses. It's just like a great musician, if a composer, his or her notes may pop off the page, same notes. But I think stillness. I think that she again, like everybody, brought an astounding amount of personal anguish and pain to that part, and Dee, I think, allowed her to be vulnerable in a way that an actor needs to be. I started out an actor as a kid and realized pretty quickly that to be a great actor, look, we tell them what to say, we tell them where to stand, we tell them what to wear, we tell them what time to show up. They have to be able to find, they're like creative yogis, they need to be able to find space where there is none. And they need to be able to locate their creativity in a very, very narrow window. And that's hard to do because you have to sort of release and surrender, and that's way easier said than done.
If you could hand deliver this film to anybody, who would you like to see this film?
Oh my gosh. I think our president, off the top of my head, and anybody that voted for him and is still supporting him, off the top of my head, and kids. I really wrote it when I closed the book. What struck me was, my God, this could be To Kill a Mockingbird for this generation.
Yeah.
I'm seeing there's a disconnectedness that I'm seeing a younger generation have. They're not connected to the generations that I was connected to, just because of distance.
Yeah.
And part of the responsibility that I felt was creating a bridge, something that they could see that what the 6 different voices in Mudbound does is it creates this Twitter-like feed. But it's an illusion because the story is marching underneath that at a very steady pace, and by the time you realize you've been sort of duped, it's too late and the story's got you by the throat. But it creates this illusion of being kinetic. It's just like a Twitter feed, because you're hearing these different voices sort of chime in on a particular thing. And so, I would show it to every 14, 15-year-old kid who is sort of trying to figure out their identity, and to figure out what to do with their inheritance, because that's the age at which you start to realize those things start to manifest.
Yeah.
Whether you're white or black, those things start to manifest once you are, in high school. You're getting out into the world really for the first time. So the kids, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, do it for the kids.
Yeah, I often wonder if people were able, if the younger generation was able to have the time to see the classics, would they like the classics? But it seems like we could maybe just create some new classics for them.
I think it's that, and I think it depends on the kid. I think it depends on how it's presented. I mean, my daughter, my 10, 11-year-old daughter loves some old movies, because some of them do stand up. Some of them are slow. It's just
Yeah.
it's just sort of the nature of the beast, and they're used to. I mean, these are kids that grew up. My daughter could walk into the office when she was 2 years old and say giraffe, and I could pull up 100 different pictures of a giraffe in animated form, photographs. She could say mouse, and I could do the same thing. So there's the automatic. I think the younger generation has so much information at their fingertips. They sort through it faster than we did.
Yeah. What was the first movie that inspired you?
Oh, wow. As a kid, my parents probably let me watch movies that were slightly inappropriate, but I can remember seeing Alien in the theater as a boy, and that movie blew me away.
Wow.
Later in life, when I was an intern at Orion Pictures, when Orion was making movies like Dances with Wolves and Platoon and Silence of the Lambs, the day that I read, and if you were an employee and I was an intern, you got free movies because they had screenings. So the day that I read the script for Silence of the Lambs and then 2 hours later saw the movie, that's when I knew. That's when I knew. I was like, oh, I can do that. Not yet, but I can do that. And I understood what screenwriting was. So I have to say that was probably a movie that really flipped a switch in me. Silence of the Lambs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of Oscar-related questions for you. This is a bit of a fill in the blank.
Okay.
The night wouldn't be complete unless blank happens.
I meet Beyonce and Jay-Z.
Nice. The nominee I'd like to dance with at the after parties is?
You know who I absolutely adore? I love Kumail and Emily. Like, it would be fun
That sounds like
for
a
me
fun
and my
time.
wife to see them on the dance floor, and because they're just awesome. They're really, really cool.
What has been the most surreal moment since you've been nominated?
Seeing John Landis at the luncheons, the Oscar luncheon. So when I'm from Chicago, and when I was 8 years old, I was in a movie called The Blues Brothers. And it was that experience that lit me up. Those 3 days on set that really lit me. It was at the time I was 8 years old, I knew that I was going to be in and around movies. It's the reason I came to California, went to USC, got rejected from the film school, but still stayed with it. It was because of I was in The Blues Brothers. That's really that's where I got bit by the bug. So I see John Landis walking across the room, and I said, oh my God, I have to say hello to this man. And these parties are, they're really like a series of interruptions. They're like 30-second conversations, someone interrupts, and you go to the next person, another 30-second conversation, someone interrupts. And I try to be the change that I want to see in the world, and I try not to interrupt. But he was talking to Patton Oswalt, and so I couldn't interrupt, and they were talking for a really, really long time. So I finally my wife goes, you have to interrupt. So I finally go up to John, and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I go, excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt. And he looks at my hand like, you are touching me. Why are you touching me? And I said, hi, my name is Virgil Williams, and I wrote Mudbound. And I said, hi, Patton, you're actually hosting the Writers Guild Awards. I'm nominated for Writers Guild Awards Award 2, so I'll see you there. Oh, you wrote Mudbound. Hi, how are you? And then I said, Mr. Landis, I had to come over and say hello because you cast me in the Blues Brothers some 40 years ago. And if you don't cast me in that movie, I'm not in that room. And he said this to me, he goes, you just saved the picture. And I took that to mean like, you better have a good reason for touching my arm, and you just gave me a better reason than I could have come up with myself. And then he said, come here. And he took me over to his wife, who's nominated as well. She's a costumer. And he tell her the story. And when I told her the story, I started crying. Because I couldn't hold him. I couldn't hold him because if this man doesn't cast me in that movie, I'm not in that room.
Yeah.
I'm maybe not even in California. I maybe don't realize that this is a thing. And I'm getting emotional just talking about it. So that was, for me, profound. And so I start crying in front of his wife, and she gives me a tissue, and she starts crying a little bit. And then later on, Patton Oswalt tweets out to his 4 million followers that was his favorite moment of the day, too.
Wow.
So that was some sort of spirit heaven at work thing that was extraordinarily profound. And it's just an affirmation, like, that I'm in the right place, that chasing the dream was the right thing to do, that all the sacrifice and all the hard work and all the time alone in that office on that keyboard and all the faith and all the ramen that I had to eat, that it was worth it. That, you do all that. It's a little Olympian because you toil in anonymity for years, for moments like that man in Austin who cried, like John Landis happening to be. It just happened to be at that ceremony that day because his wife happened to be nominated too. Wow. So, it's profound. I'm even still like just sort of tripping out. Like it feels like I couldn't write that because you wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful lesson about how life really does come full circle, and we don't realize it until that precise moment when it happens.
Yep, and you better be listening or else you'll miss it. You better be sort of there and present because you're going to miss it because if they're like that, they're like that. And that was, I hope God lets me keep my memory till my grave because I'd like to take that to my grave because that was that was a lovely moment for me. And I can't wait to see him again at the Oscars. And his wife, I can't wait to.
Maybe he'll be a little nicer this time.
and so, he'll recognize me. And so then the next morning, because Jordan Peele and I have become buddies too. It's like this is part of the gift, like such a gift.
I know.
The next
you get to
morning,
go on tour with all the Oscar nominees.
And Jordan Peele sends me a direct message on Twitter with a photograph that John Landis had sent to him. John Landis had found an old still from the day that we shot of me.
No way.
With Cab Calloway, and then he made an image of a picture of me and him together at the luncheon, and he sent it to Jordan, and Jordan Peele was like, Landis sent me this morning, and I was like, bro, I'm shook. I'm just shook that Jordan Peele is reaching out to me to tell me about this story. It was just like, wow, I'm gonna. It makes me want to get back to work and keep writing.
Yeah.
And keep chasing the dream because this shit is crazy.
Yeah. Oh, Virgil Williams, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
We will see you on Oscars night.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be there. I'm not going to miss it. Thank you.
Thank you.